everybody, and welcome back to season 2 of The Back Room. I can't believe that we've completed one season and now here we are again to do season 2. We've got a new host, we've got new segments, and we're really looking forward to sharing men's mental health with everyone, especially after the long duration of lockdown that everyone's experiencing, well, in Australia anyway, maybe not globally. So I'm Joe-y Busuttil, and in a moment I'm going to introduce our new anchor, or the new person that's going to be co-hosting the show. But before that, I just wanted to tell you what's on today's show. So on today's show, we're going to be speaking to Sandy Curtayne from the Addiction Advocacy Group, and she's going to be talking about psychedelics in mental health and how that's really impacting, mental health at the moment. It's really becoming a big thing at universities, and she's studying it, and she's going to tell us a bit about it. We're also going to be talking to Martin, who's going to be talking about part 4 of the skincare range. And on today's episode, he's going to be talking about sunscreen and looking after your skin in the sun, which, look at me, I have to do that. We're also going to be speaking to Lawrence Akers from the Pride Project, and he's going to be talking about a book that he recommends. And it's a really good book. I've read it, and it's a really good segment, so watch out for that one. We're going to be speaking to Shepard from the Secret Men's Enlightenment group, and he's going to be talking to us about meditation and how meditation can help with mindfulness and mental health and becoming more sort of grounded in everyday life. And we're going to introduce a new person to the show, and the new person is Rajiv, and he's going to be doing a segment on affirmations and insights. He's got the best voice in the whole world, so really look out for that segment, and it's going to put you into a wonderful, relaxed state as he tells us some things to connect with in our lives. So let's not wait any longer. Let's introduce our new co-host. Everybody, I'd like you to welcome Kris Welsh. How are you, Kris? Welcome to the show.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm excited that you're here. I've been waiting and waiting for this day, and now here you are. And tell everyone a little bit about you, because we've known each other for a while now. So maybe tell everyone your background and what you do for work, and maybe what you do in mental health.
Yeah, so I'm actually wondering if you know how long we've known each other. I know because
I do.
Because I remember you were my tutor when I first got into hypnotherapy. So that was pretty much exactly 10 or 11 years ago now. So
2010 it was.
2010 seems like a very long time ago. So since then I've traveled some different countries and eventually came back to Melbourne. And unfortunately, I've had to go through a year and a half of lockdowns. So just plugging away, trying to build my YouTube channel, and I still practice hypnotherapy, but for me, it's a little bit on and off. I feel like sometimes I can do more of a benefit working with people online, like doing my own guided meditations and talking about the subconscious mind. So yeah, that's.
And how have you found that has been, like, how have people responded to that in regards to, if you think, I always think back to, say, 2010, and meditation was there, but it wasn't as big as it is now. Have you noticed that there's been a lot of positive responses?
Yeah, because it's really interesting, because I remember I was actually practicing in a lot of different places, because I remember back when I first started hypnotherapy, it's quite tricky, because I was, living in a place, and then I was renting out office rooms in different locations. And I remember at one point I saw this picture on the wall, and I don't know why I remember that, but I remember seeing this picture on the wall, and somehow it was making me think of, or maybe it was written something about it, that somebody was making videos on the internet, which was basically talking about things like what Hester Hicks does, or something sort of like mental health related. And obviously I have a background in filmmaking. So I kind of thought, well, maybe I should do something on the internet. And this is going back to maybe 2012. I just made a guided meditation. I didn't even really know much about YouTube. And I posted it up there, and I completely forgot about it. And then maybe about 2 years later, I checked it again, and I had over 100,000 views. And I was thinking, what did I do? I have no idea.
Yeah.
So it literally just kind of went from there. And I honestly feel like, it's great to work with people one-on-one. I really, at the end of the day, I see myself as a communicator. someone who wants to convey a message, because I think I have a lot of things to share. But actually, sometimes I feel like when I'm able to create a recording, I'm using a lot more of my skills because I've got background in video production, and I can kind of take my time to work with a client, even though I'll never meet them. I kind of find that method a little bit easier because, as I'm sure Joe is aware, like when you're working with clients, I feel like sometimes it can be difficult in the time constraints to be able to really help people as much as you'd like. Whereas on the internet, I've got unlimited time. People can just keep watching my stuff.
Yeah,
and
people are, aren't they? But I think people are discovering, I think that's the joy of the social media and the internet, is that people are now discovering, I love the fact that you can get an app now, or I can even just turn around and say to my phone and say, hey Siri, play a meditation, and she'll play it. I better be careful, she might play it now. But it's so nice now to even think that you have access to those things. So I wanted to talk to you about the lockdowns and how did you cope with lockdown fatigue, being another Melbourneite? Like, what are some of the things that you experienced during lockdown that you've may not have experienced before?
Well, one of the things I think is interesting is that I actually think of myself being in a very lucky position, even though it's been a year and a half. I've had my girlfriend with me the whole time, which has been really good, and I've had work, and I've always had money coming in. So because I've got income online, it's also been really helpful as well. So I've actually been able to grow my business more than I would probably if I hadn't have had lockdown. So actually, it was weird. I actually feel like for me, I was really lucky in a lot of ways. But obviously, getting on to like over 250 days of lockdown, it's just getting beyond a joke. And I think everybody's starting to fantasize.
You're right, but it is funny how quickly. I don't know. I think you and I are a bit similar. I've adapted as well. I've just got on with it and got stuff done that I probably wouldn't have done before. But it is funny. Like now, I'm thinking about, oh my god, how am I going to cope going out into the public? It's because I'm so used to, I'm used to this buffer of nothing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and now I can't even imagine going into a crowded room or a crowded cafe and have to queue up to get a sandwich. So it'll be a whole new sort of learning thing. Have you noticed people around you, are people in your life experiencing anything with mental health, or are most people okay?
Well, I mean, obviously part of the problem is that I haven't been able to contact my friends that much either. But the friends that I have been able to contact, we have when we have a phone call, it tends to be a really long one, which is good. And I even have a friend of mine who's a mental health nurse. He's a male, but he's a mental health nurse. And he was saying that the amount of people going into hospitals now for mental health reasons is like tripled. So it's totally out of control. And I know even myself, about 6 months ago, I was seeking some psychological help. I just went to the medical center and I said, look, is there somebody I can talk to? Because I was feeling really isolated. And he said, look, to be honest, Kris, psychologists are booked out. You can't get in.
You can't get in.
It took me about a month and a half to get a phone number for one session in a month later. Yeah, it's crazy. And they're not taking new patients. And they've got all these posters up in the medical centers where they say, they have like, some sort of scheme to help people get help. And of course, those ones, they're not useful anymore. They're totally booked up.
Yeah. So I guess everyone listening, like, you know that this is an affiliation of the Secret Men's Business. So if you do feel like you want to talk, please log on to the Facebook group. This is what we're doing here by creating the back room. We're trying to create a dialogue because, yes, there are things going on, but it is really important for us to find other ways when we can't get what we need straight away, because there are different avenues. Sometimes you just need to know the right people that can direct you.
Okay, coming up next, we're talking to Sandy Curtayne, who's going to be talking about psychedelic therapy, and she's from the Men's Addiction Advocacy Group.
Hello, one and all. My name's Sandy, and I'm a clinical hypnotherapist plus a counsellor. And I'm looking at the moment, I'm doing training in psychedelic psychotherapy. Psychedelic assisted therapy is what it's called officially. So one of the things is that it's been a bit of a buzzword and a buzz thing for the last couple of months, maybe the last couple of years, but essentially it's been around for a very, very long time, back to shaman, all the rest, about healing through psychedelics. One of the things that I'm finding at the moment presenting in my rooms are people that have had not really very good experiences, even in the psychedelic area, because they're now going to cowboys or underground therapists that are not particularly well trained or don't really have the depth of understanding of what psychedelic assisted therapy is. The reason it's come to light a lot is of recent they've started doing clinical trials, have been done over in America for quite a long time, but I know that they're doing them more over in England, and they are obviously doing them in Australia at the moment. They're doing them at Monash, and they're also doing them Monash in Melbourne and also up in Sydney that I'm aware of. And a lot of the psychedelics that they use are magic mushrooms, so psilocybins, and they do MDMA. Plus, there's other stuff which hasn't been that they're not trialling just at the moment. Things like DMT and LSD, etc. In a psychedelic assisted therapy, you're dosed, etc., in the room, and there's lots of work that goes beforehand, during, and after. It's not like being given a antibiotic and say, here, take this and go home. For a long time, ayahuasca's been around. But what I was saying is that I'm finding that in my room, and I know other therapists are starting to face people that are, looking to do therapy, and they're going places that, because it's not legal yet, that people are saying that they can do this work, and they literally cannot. So they come at it with what is classified as a bad trip, where the integration or what was meant to be occurring in that space, it doesn't happen, and they've left with some, damage to their psyche and not knowing how to translate that into their world. So obviously I'm an advocate for psychedelic psychotherapy, and it's an amazing, amazing world, and I cannot wait until it's actually legalised within Australia, and that it becomes more widely available. The stuff that's happening in that zone is just mind-blowing, literally. I mean, it's funny that I'm saying that, but it is. With what's happening with people with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, with anxiety, addictions, fear of death. They use a lot with people end-of-life sort of areas and stuff like that. But I'm more than happy to talk a lot about this zone. I like to talk about it in a very positive way, but I always put this warning out there. This is when you're looking at therapy and using those drugs, we're not talking about going off and partying. We're not talking about long-term use. Often it can be a one-off, and people experience life-changing events that are very, very hard to explain. but then they no longer experience PTSD and anxiety, depression, etc. Which as I say, I'm bustingly excited. I've been sort of reading, sort of on the cusp of this for about 9 odd years, and to see it sort of coming to fruition and them doing stuff. It's exciting, especially, and all of us that work in any therapy want the best for our clients, So when you see something that's got legs, so to speak, you sort of go, come on, but like everything, waiting, and it's, that's sort of, this. Not so much the start of that journey. As I say, shamanism's been around in all cultures. And they use it. It's not just, they're not parting with those sort of areas. They're highly trained tribal people, and those drugs are used for reasons. They're not just there going, hey, let's, do this. It's, for journeying, for exploring, etc. But as I say, look, I'm more than happy to chat about this area. It's a breathtaking area, but I always put in here, word of caution. Don't go off doing it yourself. That's not therapy. You can't do that sort of therapeutic work by yourself. Make sure that even if you're going to sort of dip your toe into psychedelics, do some research. Make sure you're with people that you trust, that can, if not therapeutically, but can be there to just help you. So even though I sort of make that sound, I'm just saying be wary. Don't just head off and do stuff. You've got to make sure you're well supported. Whether it be partying or whether it be in a therapeutic session, you've got to make sure you're with the right people. And I'm really happy to, as I say, talk about that more. But just know that there can be adverse side effects if you're not well prepared, if the person that you're working with is not well trained or well prepared to also. I'll leave it with that and hand you back to Joe and our new mystery presenter, who I'm not sure who it is yet. So I'll hand you back to the boys, and I will every once in a while drop in and have a bit of a chat. I'm so excited at the prospect of people that have had terrible addictions, whether it be alcoholism or anything else. These prospects of things changing, and there's movement in the air. So keep tuned. It's exciting space. All right. Lovely to talk to you all. Stay safe.
Well, that was really interesting. What's your thoughts on psychedelics?
I wish I knew more. I'm the sort of person who, when I was young, I couldn't even find someone to offer me something.
So you're looking for an offering.
Well, it's just like, my parents always used to say no to drugs. And then I took it really literally. And so my friends, when we were in high school and, university, it was never around me. I even went to Deakin, which was like...
I went to Deakin too.
Yeah, there was a lot of... I used to call them stoners. And like, I just never really, the circle of friends that I had there were just really kind of not into that sort of thing. So look, the only time I've really got high was when I was overseas, and I actually didn't really have a good experience. It kind of traumatized me a little bit because I couldn't think.
Yeah, I guess this, it's interesting, how long we've had to wait for psychedelics to come back, because they were really doing amazing work in the 60s, and then the 70s came and those hippies started doing it, and then the government decided to shut it down. And so all that work with mental health stopped, right?
Yeah.
And so to take an MDMA or to take a psychedelic and to do a past life or a regression, right? It's such an amazing thing. I'll send you actually a documentary that I watched, and it goes for like 6 hours. They wear like an eye mask, and they've got 2 therapists, and they literally regress, and they heal. Right? Yeah. If it's done properly, because like drugs at a pure level are meant to be about healing.
Yeah.
right? When you think about like mushrooms, they're from the garden, they're from the
Yeah.
forest. So it's all got a healing nature. So I'm always curious to know when someone doesn't know, like, what do you think it would feel like?
Well, actually, because that was the weird thing is, like, the one time I had an experience, it was bad, but I was actually expecting it would be good, especially because I was older and I was thinking, oh, I know what I'm doing now. I'm not like being irresponsible. But yeah, it was just unfortunate I didn't have a good situation. But I agree with you. I think like something that comes from the earth, has to have a purpose to it. So I
Yeah.
don't think it's like evil, but I think you got to look at the way that society has been. Like we always think that drugs are bad. It's kind of
Yeah.
like an unwritten rule.
Do you feel that your bad experience was driven by the fact that you yourself wasn't comfortable? Because normally the drugs were reflective of what you're feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, as we've discussed before, like at the time I was going through really intense anxiety on a daily basis. And I think that's kind of what got triggered because I remember my friend was laughing at me because I couldn't explain something. And that was part of my problem, is that I was really afraid of explaining things badly. That was kind of part of my anxiety. So
can I just go back to that question though? What do you think it would feel like? Have you thought of like that? Like, have you thought about what a good trip would be like?
Yeah. I think like for someone who's barely done that sort of thing, I'm probably the most prepared anyone could be because I feel like I would be like, come on, let's try, because I think, like in terms of like my mental health these days, I feel like I understand myself really well. And I think that it would probably unlock another level of insight because I feel like, when you really get calm, you start to get a lot of insights. You start to listen to your body and stuff. So I think it's probably just a way to enhance that natural ability that we don't actually have usually.
All right. We better go on to the next segment. And
coming up next is Martin from the Secret Men's Beauty Business, and he's going to be talking about skincare, and it's his fourth part from his series that he's had from season 1, and he's going to be talking about how we look after our skin when we go out in the sun. Welcome again to Secrets Men's Beauty Business, episode 4 out of 4, where I am talking about a good skincare regime. So today we'll be talking about the last step of a good skincare regime, which is the sun protection. Now, I'm a Gen X, so I am in the generation in between the no sun awareness to the extreme sun awareness. I've lived across both. So sunscreen in men has often been stigmatized as something men don't do, something men are resistant at applying, especially the baby boomers era where sun protection was not a thing. So things are changing because we're more and more aware of the damage and the aging of the sun exposure bring. So things are improving. Now, why do we need to protect from the sun? A lot of the aging of the skin comes from external factors such as UV exposure and exposure to pollution, cigarette smoke, and so on and so forth. So UV exposure is a huge factor in skin aging. What does it do exactly to the skin structure to cause such aging? So there are some things that UV exposure will cause that are reversible if treated, such as causing pigmentation, causing dehydration. So there are things that can be worked on and somewhat reversed with the right approach, treatment, skincare. Some damages are irreversible. So the transformation in the type of collagen and elastin that the skin contains, those changes are irreversible, and they are causing the skin to lose its capacity to bounce back or to its elasticity. So a skin that has no elasticity will get more wrinkles. So every time your face has facial expression, every time you sleep in a certain position, your skin folds, and if it doesn't have the capacity to bounce back to its original position, creases will deepen and will eventually stay there.
Paradoxically, UV exposure has also some positive benefits. So it is a mood enhancer. So in winter, people tend to suffer SAD, a seasonal affective disorder, more prevalent in some people than others. It also helps your body produce vitamin D. And also people who suffer skin lesions such as acne find that their acne gets better when exposed to UV light. So it's not all bad. From a purely cosmetic perspective in dermatology, UV is bad. So there's no kind of debate around that. The consensus is you wear sunscreen every time you leave the house. Now, I'm the Antichrist. I work in the cosmetic industry and I don't wear sunscreen daily. I'm all about measure. If I am to go to sports or have to be in the sun for a prolonged period of time, I will definitely wear sun protection. But just to walk in and out of the house, get to my car, get to work, I don't. And even if I'm on holiday and I have the possibility of choosing the time slot where I will get a bit of sun exposure outside of the peak, when the sun is at its zenith, so try to have a bit of window in the morning and in late afternoon, then I will like to get a bit of vitamin D and a bit of sun on my skin. But don't take this is my choice. We're here to talk about skin health. So UV has damaging effects when it comes to the elasticity of the skin in the long run. How to choose the right skincare. So skincare ingredients are in two broad categories. So you have the more what we call chemical sunscreen ingredients, and then you have the physical blockers. You'll find that in better quality skincare sunscreens, generally you will find primarily the physical blockers, which are the two main ones being zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. So they are minerals. They are crushed in a powder, and they just form a barrier on the surface of the skin. They tend to be long lasting, so you need to reapply less often because they will not deteriorate when exposed to UV light, which is a good quality to have when you're trying to protect and be in the sun for many hours. They're also inert, so they will not cause irritation to the skin. The base that they're sitting in might, but the mineral itself is not going to cause allergic reactions and irritation. So what's the difference between one that you'll find at the pharmacy and one that you'll buy at a cosmetic clinic? It is how finely those particles of minerals are crushed. So a cheaper version will be more gloggy, will tend to leave some white ghosting, we call, on the skin, less pleasant to apply. People who suffer acne will find that it does tend to block their pores more, will exacerbate their acne. Now, a micronized zinc or titanium will be more pleasant, will not leave those white marks on the skin. And there's also the so-called nano zinc, which is newish. The verdict is still out as to how safe those are, because if those minerals are crushed in such fine particles, the problem is that they're no longer just sitting on the surface. They can also penetrate into the bloodstream with potential health hazards, which are yet to be determined. The more chemical sunscreens, they have a more narrow spectrum of protection. So usually you need multiple different ingredients to cover the full spectrum of protection that is required to protect both from the UVAs and the UVBs. So broad spectrum is something that you really need to have written on the label to get the full range of coverage, because regulations are only there to ensure the protection against UVAs, but you also want the protection of UVBs because you also don't want to have the aging and other aspects, other damages of the full spectrum of UVs. So this is it for today. Good shopping and enjoy the summery months for the Southern Hemisphere, we're entering summer, so sunscreen are going to be de rigueur on a daily basis.
Coming up is Lawrence Akers, and he's from the Pride Project, and he's going to be discussing the Velvet Rage.
Can't help what I'm feeling. I don't know if I'm breathing when you hold me. My heart is beating.
Hi everyone, Lawrence here. Welcome to the Pride Project on the Back Room. It's great to be back for another season again. And today, I want to chat with you about a particular book that I personally have found very powerful and insightful over the years. I know it's one that can often be a little bit divisive and has had certain criticism aimed at it over time, but I also know so many people that have read this and gained so much personal insight and so many new values from reading it. And the book in question is The Velvet Rage by Dr. Alan Downs. And this week I thought it'd be great just to be able to share with you some of the insights that have come from this fantastic book. Now, the book itself really talks about the coming out process for many gay men. And it kind of separates that into three different stages. You know, the first stage is being overwhelmed by shame. And this is where there is a lot of denial about who the person is. There's this splitting that happens where, people end up leading something a bit of a double life. They have a lot of secrets about themselves that they don't wish to share. And so they kind of detach themselves from that and pretend to be someone else in order to make sure that double life is hidden away. Then they reach a point where they come out, and you would imagine at that point in time that they would have resolved these issues. But instead, something may happen which is almost the opposite extreme of that. And this is where they begin to compensate. There's a compensation of shame that occurs. And during this period, a lot of gay men might go from feeling that they're flawed and unlovable to wanting to be the best of everything, wanting to have the best car, the best home, listen to the best music, have the best job, have the best body, have the best boyfriend. And it can often be at the cost of being authentic and being vulnerable. It's almost like that there's this projection of them being perfect now. And then as they begin to move into that final stage, it's really about discovering authenticity. And this is where they begin to let go of that and begin to explore who they authentically are and what brings them joy and meaning into their life. Now, my own personal example of this is that it's not necessarily like you go from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3 and then you stay at stage 3. Quite often you might find that there might be a bit of going to and fro between those particular stages. For example, back in 2016, where we had the marriage equality plebiscite here in Australia, I know that I began to feel some feelings I hadn't experienced in a long time that were quite similar to that stage 1. And that took me a bit by surprise. I wasn't expecting that at the time. And speaking to a few other people, I noticed that they were experiencing it too. And of course, sometimes we get to stage 3, but we'll find that there are things that sometimes bring us back that kind of trigger that need to project our perfectionism instead. And it's great that within this particular book, Dr. Alan Downs covers a few different approaches and techniques that can help us to become a little bit more mindful and aware of that so that we can make sure that we invest our energy into being that authentic version of ourselves. If you haven't read it, I really recommend having a read of it. It might not be your cup of tea. You might be one of those people who can find lots of flaws with it and criticize it. But then you might also be someone who can take away some real nuggets of wisdom and insight that can only make your life so much more richer and meaningful. So go and check it out, The Velvet Rage by Dr. Alan Downs, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
The show's moving very fast. Coming up next is Grant Shepard from the Secret Men's Enlightenment group. He is such a great resource for this group, helping us to find our center and to be grounded. Today he's going to be talking about meditation and how meditation helps with mental health.
Hey everybody, welcome to the back room and welcome to this segment, Secret Men's Enlightenment. So, meditation. There's a lot of talking about meditation. Lots and lots of talking about meditation. Online, there's lots of talking about meditation. In meditation centers, there's lots of talking about meditation. On Facebook, there's lots of talking about meditation. Instagram, there's lots of wonderful shots of people meditating in very glamorous places. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of talking about meditation. During my 25 years of practicing meditation and living in different places to practice meditation, living in ashrams, going to meditation centers, places of pilgrimage, living in these different places, I asked myself a question. Why am I doing it? Why am I meditating? Why am I meditating? And to be honest with you, that question has evolved over time. So one thing I'd like to share with you today in today's session is meditation is about accepting ourselves as we are. But it's not only about that. It's also about accepting our growth process. You might hear of some meditation teachers saying, there's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do, just be as you are, and you are perfect. And on one hand, that is true. That's true. The perfection of being rather than becoming. But on the other hand, this has been my experience, self-realization is cumulative. It builds over time. So yes, we work to stay in the present moment. Yes, we work to stay present. Yes, we drop into being. But at the same time, as a result of touching that place, it's kind of paradoxical. Our state of realization becomes deeper. It deepens naturally. It's like any skill or any practice. Over time, you become more and more adept. You become more and more skillful at dropping into the place of meditation. So, meditation, self-acceptance. When we talk about the self, self-acceptance, self-esteem, what are we talking about? What is this self? When I studied comparative religion, I found that there were many different ways of talking about this self. The Hindus might talk about the Atman, the enduring self, the self that is beyond name, form, societal roles, our body, our job, our status in society. Certain schools of Buddhism might say, well, there's actually no self. There is no self. We've just made the mistake that there is a self by putting all our experiences together, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. And as a result of all those experiences coming together like that, we've created a self with a history. Simplifying this a lot, of course. I've got a 7-minute segment. Back to the point. Meditation and the self. Meditation and self-esteem. My understanding of what meditation and the self is and how it relates is that it's about just being, allowing ourselves to be in the present moment and accepting ourselves fully wherever we are. So, for example, today I'm tired. I was wake, sleep, wake, sleep, wake, sleep. So, accepting myself where I am today, in that place. Tomorrow it may be different, who knows? Accept myself there. Accept myself. Self. So here's the point. Self. Our felt oneness with all it is. our felt oneness with consciousness. This is what Kashmir Shaivism, the philosophy I work with, teaches. Everything is consciousness, including us. We are the self. And to understand that is to have great awareness of self-esteem, because we understand that we're creating everything as we go along. We're creating a whole universe from consciousness. We are the great self. Chit, they call it in Kashmir Shaivism. C-I-T, Chit, consciousness. So we're going to do a dharana today. That's a centering technique. And this dharana is about understanding our true worth, our self-esteem, because we are one with the absolute consciousness. So, you can either keep your eyes open or closed. It's up to you. What we're going to do is take a comfortable posture. Relax our shoulders, relax our jaw. Just relax. You can keep your eyes open or closed. And now repeat this phrase. I am consciousness. I am supreme consciousness. I am awareness. I am of the nature of consciousness. See what that does to your state. Let's do that again. I am consciousness. I am supreme consciousness. What that means is everything I see, hear, taste, touch, smell is nothing but an extension of me as consciousness. I am awareness. When I'm aware that I am consciousness, I am naturally aware of my self-esteem. I am the joyful, beautiful consciousness. Try this dharana a few times a day if you like, and just see what it does to your state of mind. This is all about mental training. It's about training our mind to understand our deeper nature, beyond the turnings of thought, beyond our problems, beyond our history, beyond our traumas. This is about settling in to the essence of who we are. And when we settle into that, when we settle into consciousness, then true self-esteem shines forth, because we understand I am truly one with all that is.
Don't you love meditation, Kris?
Yeah, I'm a little bit lazy with it, but I definitely appreciate the experience when I can have a really good experience.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something that someone taught me once, and I really, really it. Just helped me understand. When we start looking for meditation to have a good experience, it ends up being that we really struggle with the bad experience. So rather than looking for a good or bad experience, I just sort of tell myself I'm doing meditation for discipline. Yep. So I sit there and I enjoy the good experience and I enjoy the bad experience. So then in the real world, when things don't go to my plan, I find that I've got a stillness because I've been able to sit through those, those meditations where my mind's overactive, and especially when I do it at 5 a.m, and so like sometimes I don't want to get out of bed, but I still do it. So I sit in that discomfort and I just let that just wash by, and then I have been able to use that in the day-to-day world to help with mental health. So what type of meditation do you enjoy doing?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I actually like to do things a little bit differently. Like sometimes for me, if I'm sitting there, if I feel tense, sometimes I'll just, like I can do it now, I'll just take a moment to just relax. And all of a sudden I kind of feel like my body is actually falling away. It's really strange. It's almost like a compulsion to like kind of like sit down or something.
To let go.
The longer I do it, the more it can kind of like just starts to fall away. So that for me is like, giving up the tension of the moment. Yeah. So instead of like stressing about something, I'll just let it go. And then all of a sudden it's like, it's kind of just like just slowly bringing my relaxation down pretty much. But I mean, if I was actually going to meditate like for a longer period, usually I'll actually like to do something. Like I find sometimes even walking, and I've heard gurus say this, that like sometimes you don't have to sit down in a chair. You can walk or ride a bike or I don't know. Sometimes I do like to listen to some music and just kind of feel peaceful that way. But
one of my favorite things is I like watching ants. That's one of my favorite. Yeah, like I mean, mindfulness stuff, like walking and all that. When you're doing something, it's just being mindful. So I like whenever I feel really, really stressed, I just go to the backyard and I just sit there and I just watch the ants. Yeah. And again, I think it's very similar to what I said earlier in the show with that visual. Like when I like watch something repetitively, I find it quite mesmerizing. Like I like watching a candle flame or watching something that you can just get absorbed into, and then every time your breath or your mind flickers, you just come back to that image. And it's so there is lots of things. I think people do misunderstand and think that you do have to close your eyes and you have to chant or whatever. But there's so many different ways, isn't there?
That's the thing, exactly. So I would say about myself, I wouldn't say I'm someone who actually would traditionally meditate. But then again, thinking about it, so many times throughout the day, if I feel tense or I'm stressed or whatever, I'll do something to stop it. Okay, so that might be just to take a deep breath and go, oh, calm down. It's all right. No problems. Or, I'll go do something that is like that. Maybe if I was to go to the backyard, like walk around, feel your toes on the grass or something, or a bike ride or a walk or, just to kind of feel, because I tend to feel in my body a lot more these days because obviously with doing my channel, that sort of thing, I'm really focused on how to heal your body. That sort of thing. So I'm always trying to experiment with that. Like if I have a headache or something, I'll feel my body and I'll go, what's wrong? Let it go and all that sort of stuff. And most of the time it works.
Well, that's the reason why I do 2 hours a day, because if I don't do 2 hours a day, I probably won't walk properly. See, so the meditation is every time I meditate for 2 hours and I do it solidly, I have the best day with one walking. If I have a struggle, then I can feel the muscles and the nerves. If I don't do it, I probably, I'm going to say I can't climb stairs.
Wow. Okay.
So the body is quite an intense thing. And also, I really believe that meditation played a big part of me healing, because the medical profession, they didn't think I was going to walk.
Yeah.
See, so I was quite lucky, and the combination of that and sound therapy, again, I don't understand how it happened, but like all of that vibration really helped my body to heal. So I think you need to have a why, right? If you have the solid why and you are focused, because there is a leap of faith when you do something like that. Like I couldn't walk, and so I had to like embrace these options, and I had to like leap into it without questioning it. Like I really knew that I couldn't say that's not working, because I knew that it had to be a long process, because nerves, like only 1 millimeter of nerve heals a year, right? Yep. And I had 7 millimeters. So like you have to be patient. So I found meditation really helped me to let go and be patient and just get lost in my head or get lost in my body. Especially if you do, have you ever done meditation like standing up and just closing your eyes and just standing?
Absolutely, yeah.
Like then you feel it through your whole body, like that energy, and you've got to find the groundedness and you're wobbly and all that. So like those sort of things, I think if you mix it up, people can find things to enjoy without thinking that they're meditating. That's why I guess Wim Hof has become popular. Have you heard of him?
Yeah, I know about Wim Hof. Yeah, he's really interesting.
Well, he's like he's the number one method now for anxiety.
Really?
So the medical profession, that's where we go. We go towards Wim Hof.
Because I thought his main thing is about healing the body and being able to, because they injected toxins into his body, and he was in this ice tank, which I saw on the TV, and he was like, defying the scientists that he could actually survive it, and he survived it no problems. Like he kept his temperature at the exact same level or whatever, out of control.
Yeah, I mean, my coach said that he called that surrendering. Like you need. When I was trying to walk, he said, you need to surrender. And what that meant was you need to trust that you don't know what's going to come. And that was really hard. Yeah. Like, trusting that you're going to take the next moment and you don't know what's going to happen. But regardless of what that is, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it is, in this day and age, I think that's something that really needs to be maybe really talked about. Because I think a lot of people are attaching to a lot of stuff that is not necessarily real. It's based on conspiracies or based on governments or based on media. And so people are caught up in that and they're sort of not breathing because they've got anxiety because they don't feel like they're in control. And it's hard to say, I'm going to surrender to that because I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, and one of the things I always talk about in the videos I make, I talk about the subconscious mind in that, like, we're not supposed to know the future with our conscious mind. We might know things on an intuitive level, but it's really like hard to get, right? It's not easy to perceive that. And so sometimes I feel like the conscious mind literally doesn't know anything. And we have to choose to kind of have faith in our life.
Well, you've got to trust, right, to not live in your head, because when you live in your body, you do experience those moments. But when you live in your head, those moments sometimes take you away from the reality because you're thinking about tomorrow or the past.
Yeah. But we can't really know the future. But if we can just go, like everything will work out, it's like subconscious mind, intuition, law of attraction, all that stuff works together to make it happen because you just had the faith in it. I mean, that's kind of how I see it anyway.
Yeah.
So coming up next is Rajiv, and Rajiv is new to the show, so that'll be really exciting. And he's going to be talking about, so his segment is Affirmations, and he's going to be talking about inner peace and inner strength.
Inner peace leads to inner strength. Hi friends, this is Rajiv Thacker, and today I wish to share with you a very simple reasoning as to why we are looking for peace. We have gone through all those turmoils and challenges of our times, and what has happened is that we have been looking for now some rest, calm and peace. And for that, we're looking everywhere. We tried with things, we tried with people and relationships, we tried with moving places, buying cars or goods, and we still didn't get it. And it's something like this, that you've lost a valuable item inside your house, and you're looking outside because there's a street light and it's dark inside, and you'll never get it because you didn't lose it in the first place outside, you lost it inside. And that's what it is. Peace is within us. However, we're looking everywhere outside. So it's time to first understand where to look, and that you now know is to look inside, and then how to look. There are lots of steps in this, but let's just explore a very simple techniques first towards moving internally for our peace. And that is breathing techniques. The easiest way to calm your mind when there are so many thoughts and disturbances internally, the turmoil, to calm it. Breathe in, breathe out. Equal length of breathing in and equal length of exhalation. So inhale, exhale. Now as you do that, relax your body. That's very important. At the same time, feel the coolness of the air moving in through your area around your nostrils, and then see how the warm air goes out. As you do this, you also start being aware of the sounds around you. And you'll find some in my recording today as well, because I'm in nature doing this for you. And that brings me to the next point. The other thing is, if you are in nature and remain connected to nature, nature is in harmony, therefore there will be peace, which you will experience through nature as well. Go about in the greenery, see nature around you, be by the lake or a waterfall or a seaside, and you'll feel a different kind of experience. And that's also going to calm you down. So for today, let's just be concentrating on these two. So if visualize yourself that you're by a sea or on a mountain in the nature, or under a waterfall or next to a waterfall, whatever suits you. Close your eyes, breathe in, breathe out. Keep relaxing your body as you do this. Breathe in, breathe out gently. And as you do this, understand that peace is within me. And I need to be peaceful to see things with clarity, to understand my life circumstances and journey, to be able to see what each relationship plays out in my life. And as I do this, I get more stable and feel more peaceful. And the more I feel peaceful, the more I become stronger within. Peace is my strength. When I silence my mind and sit with calmness, there's so much of clarity and there's so much of joy and bliss. So friends, experience this in silence by sitting every now and then in a day, every couple of hours if you want, just a minute's silence. Drop everything, go internally and see for yourself your thoughts speed decreasing and you're getting more clarity. With that, I wish you a beautiful experience through meditation and exploring your journey. Bye for now, friends. Have a lovely day and a week ahead.
All clear, 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 all clear.
I think Rajiv's going to be a really good contribution to the team. I really like his voice. I love his voice. That really chilled, beautiful, sort of hypnotic sort of voice. And he's going to be sharing affirmations. Do you think affirmations are underrated? I think affirmations are so good.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously on my channel. That's the kind of main thing I do. So yeah, definitely, it's important. People don't do it enough.
I know. Well, hopefully we'll get them to do more. So your first show over and done with. How do you feel?
Good. I hope I didn't blabber on too much. Otherwise,
no. Did you have fun? Did you have a good time?
Okay, because I'm trying to give you, because it's your platform. I'm trying to give you some space, but
it's our platform. It's actually really good to have a new voice and to be able to share stuff. So yeah, I look forward to doing the next 9 episodes with you.
Great, sounds
1 down, 9 to go. All right, everybody. I'm Joe-y Busuttil,
and I'm Kris Welsh.
And you've been watching The Back Room, and we're going to be back soon. So hopefully everyone has a good month. See you soon, Kris.
See you, Joe. Bye.
Bye.